Hi, I'm Ahava Leaptag. Today I'm joined by my very smart friend, Shawn to talk about healthcare strategy challenges and opportunities. You've got questions, we've got answers. Let's dig in. Shawn, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, Ahava. Great to be here as well.
We should tell everybody that we've known each other for a million years.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yes, I can remember when we had like the Abacus out and Dreamweaver and like we were moving HTML. And I was the head of digital at Mass General Hospital. Eventually, I worked there for 7.5 years, but I didn't start as the head of digital, that's for sure. And then after that, I went over to Tufts Medical Center in Boston as well, across town. I think I either like read Moneyball or I saw the Brad Pitt movie and I was inspired to do more with less. And then for the last decade, I've been working in healthcare agencies, so helping other brands grow their digital strategies, their website redesigns, thinking about mobile apps, and just digital innovation in general. And most recently, I've launched a blog called hospitalwebsites.com, where I am reviewing great digital healthcare experiences and serving as a digital consultant for those in need of my work.
That's awesome. That's really needed. Tell me, based on all of this experience and writing this blog and looking at the best practices in the industry, what are you most excited about right now in healthcare marketing and digital strategy?
I am these days most excited about this shift that's from passive marketing to interactive first party data engagement. Dare I call it something so lofty? But if you know me, I have for years been talking about hospital websites being treated like static brochureware. But now I feel like with the tools and technology available to us, there is a huge opportunity to turn these sites into really platforms that learn from their visitors. They can adapt in real time, and they can even, this is the cool part, and by the way, other brands have figured this out outside of healthcare, they can capture intent before someone's even ready to book or even needs care from a large health system or provider. And so that's where some of my thinking comes in. It's not a website redesign, not something that you have to take your old and throw it out, but it's an engagement layer. And it sits on top of hospital websites and it encourages these micro interactions, maybe is the right way to say this, that will gradually build data in your CRM. So think like favoriting doctors with little hearts or likes, little stars, or saving clinical services in a locker to email a loved one. Maybe you're the caregiver and you're looking at doctors for mom and dad. Filtering by location, that's an easy one because we've got zip code finders in our doctors sections and our location sections. Liking articles or blog content. Even providing your cell phone number to get a direct link back to make it easy to download the mobile app right from your smartphone, and maybe even engaging in short self-guided assessments. These little micro interactions all can feed downstream into a CRM, and they're opted in with consent. They're ethically captured data, and it's progressively profiling your end user. That term, progressively profiling, is a word and a phrase that comes from other industries outside of healthcare. So to me, to answer your question, what's really exciting right now is that this new frontier isn't just about content creation. I really feel like it's this experience design layer that it packages all that great content and earns first party data by being genuinely useful. And that doesn't sound so controversial.
So what you're talking about is really what, every other industry basically has done for a long time, which is sort of scoring potential
That's right.
customers based on micro interactions to determine if they're ready to purchase.
You got it.
But typically, the way that a lot of brands handle that is they either have sales outreach so that there's an actual person calling to say, do you want to buy this thing? Certainly in B2B. Or one of the tricks I always use is I always put stuff in my cart and then I wait for them to email me the next day and say 50% off.
Same, same. Yes, wait for a discount.
I'm signaling to you I want to buy, but I need a better price. So how would a hospital handle that? Because they're looking at all these micro interactions, which is, you're exactly right. Designing those digital experiences is so important. But how do they score and then actually make sort of that aggressive, do you want to make an appointment when it's healthcare and it's privacy related? And, do people really want to know that their hospital is looking at them as a potential buyer and they're scoring their activity? So what would you say to a healthcare marketer who's struggling around that?
Absolutely. I'm glad you bring it up because progressive profiling and lead gen scoring sort of go hand in hand. If you were talking to Microsoft or SAP and other industries, Adobe or Salesforce on their websites are doing exactly those two things, lead scoring, and also progressively profiling you. And I feel like the distinction, to your point, it's not that we want people to be prompted with emails, you left something in your cart. So come back to the Mass General Heart Center where we can see 2 for 1. I would frame this as what's the purpose of your hospital website in the first place? And do the marketing team members, specifically the digital marketing team members, do they answer that question the same way that the C-suite might answer that question? And if they're slightly different, then this is an opportunity to gain that alignment because I think so many marketers, they know their websites could be working harder, but they are trapped in outdated models of measurement beyond just the appointment. So I know from my own past experiences, we had beautiful dashboards that showed page views and bounce rates and clicks, but that really put the C-suite to sleep. They wanted to know just about appointments booked. So the real value in thinking about progressive profiling is being able to report on signals of interest from audiences who are not yet ready to convert. And I think a big challenge for me as I beat this drum and advocate for this is that in healthcare, I'm going to hear people say, don't we already have a CRM for that, Shawn? Or isn't that what our CDP is already supposed to be doing? Or are you talking about a health risk assessment? That's just another type. And this needs education to make this all happen. It's not about tracking people. It's about inviting them into a deeper conversation where they're in control. I think it was Forrester or a Gartner study that I saw from a few years ago that talked about Gen Z and millennials will happily give up information about who they are, a little bit of information about who they are, in exchange for a more personalized brand experience. It just, for me, connects the dots that in healthcare, we are amazingly good at tracking those who have already converted, but we're missing the chance to potentially engage with 80 to 90% of people who aren't ready yet. They may be looking at our websites, looking at our brand, but they're not ready to add to cart just yet.
So I want to challenge that a little bit, though. I agree with you, but I think that this is what the C-suite thinks. You have a healthcare need, you need to make an appointment. You're coming to our website, you read a couple of things, and you decide to make an appointment with us.
Yes.
Why would you need to lead score somebody who's still in the evaluation phase? What are they evaluating? Why aren't they just either they evaluated us and they decided they're going to go to the hospital down the road or the academic medical center 40 minutes away, or they evaluated us, they found us wanting. What would you say to a C-suite who says, like, this is the kind of purchase that is made? Why are they coming to our website ready to do something?
There's going to be folks who are going to be in that mindset of hospital websites exist for transactions only. And I think as we're seeing 0 clicks and we're seeing search change and algorithms reinvent the way brands are being found in the first place, and it's not going so great, by the way, if you're a news publisher or I think also even a hospital website, potentially you're seeing traffic dip, not just hospitals and news media, but traffic is going down. And so how we connect and build relationships with our audiences, I think is at the crux of this. It's that we can't just sit back anymore and wait for 80% of our traffic to come from Google. I think that the C-suite gets that. They know for a decade their digital marketing teams have had this amazing traffic driver called search to just bring qualified audiences into their site. And that's about to change. It already has been changing. And I think marketers have an opportunity to slightly build, maybe reinvent themselves as relationship experts. We're already doing that kind of work anyway in maybe offline marketing channels. So digital folks have this opportunity now to truly make website experiences the promised land. You heard me say at the top of our call, more interactive. We've been talking about more interactivity for a decade plus. And so what I see this layer, I'm calling it sort of a concept. It's the concept of a name, Ahava. I don't have a full name yet, but it's an ROI layer. It's not a CMS. It's not a CDP. It's not an HRA. And to me, it's this missing engagement layer on hospital websites that would, and this is the educational part for the C-suite, ethically allow marketers to progressively capture first-party data across their entire digital experience and turn that into measurable ROI. And for me, this came from working at places like Mass General. It came from working at Tufts Medical Center. And I've kept coming back to this question, even when I was working at agencies, helping clients think through how do I prove the value of the website, especially to the C-suite, for the visitors that don't convert on their first visit. And so this layer of ROI is my answer to that. And, I think there's also things to be mindful about HIPAA privacy rules. Where do teams even start with this? You heard me say earlier, you do not have to throw out your website and start over and redesign everything to just add this new layer. But to answer your question, I want to make sure the C-suite is realizing that the marketing departments are in the position to be growth agents, not just people who build educational digital content material and post it on a website and then hope people read it.
Okay. So what would you do? What's the first, like, let's say a healthcare marketer calls you up and says, hey, I saw your interview with Ahava and I love what you're saying.
I think you first have to address privacy concerns through this progressive profiling. I mean, we're in healthcare, obviously, right? So progressive profiling has to be voluntary and it has to be transparent. So we want to be thinking about the first person that we're going to share this idea with internally to build support and socialize is going to ask us about HIPAA. So we want to make sure that we're choosing what to share. What things are we actually allowing people to tell us about themselves in this new relationship building mode? When to share it? And exchange for what value? What exactly is going to change on the site? So whether that's a personalized content experience or some new tool that they have new access to, I would say to folks, try some easy, simple first wins. What's the first thing that someone can do to implement this process is maybe adding a simple personalization prompt right on your homepage or on the landing pages of
Honestly,
Harvard.
I agree. I think we all try to overthink it and make it more complicated,
Make
but
it super simple, non-intrusive, improve the
yeah,
user experience, and it allows you to say like, I'm Ahava, and then the site just says, hi, welcome back, Ahava. And maybe the second prompt is like, what's your zip code? And yes, we ask that often in the doctor
that's
profile.
agentic. You're talking about agentic AI. That's what you're talking
I
about.
don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. I'm thinking about if I just tell you a little bit about myself and what I came to do on the site today, I'm going to be getting a brand experience that feels really customized and personalized to me. But you're right. I mean, there's a potentially an agent behind the scenes that's connecting the dots. It's saying we have 2,500 pages, and I'm going to serve up just the 7 that I think Shawn needs to see right now. So yes, you are helping me connect the dots that an aid, the glue that stitches this all together, could absolutely be agentic AI.
This is a great conversation. I'm having a lot of fun. My brain's going in like 30,000 different ways. The first thing I want to say about this is that when we talk about losing the top of the funnel and we talk about the fact that, people are not going to hospital websites to get educated, what I would say is that people are using LLMs to get educated, and the hospital websites better be prepared with super sharp content that the LLMs are pulling in. We're
Yes.
seeing that with our hospital clients. They're showing up in Perplexity, they're showing up in ChatGPT because we've written content for them that's really great and helps that happen.
Yeah.
So the evaluation is actually happening inside the LLM itself. Which hospital should I go to for this problem? And then comes the secondary layer if we ever get there, which I don't think we will, because Epic's going to lock up scheduling forever. Really,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
I don't know when they're ever going to open it up, but I mean, I think that they're going to have to eventually, or somebody's going to have to figure something out here. So make me an appointment there, or you go to the hospital website and that agentic AI lets you do that. Fine. More to your point.
Yeah.
But I think what we need to help C-suite executives understand is that evaluation might not be happening on the website itself, but that doesn't mean that when they finally get to the website, they are ready to convert. So that progressive profiling that you're talking about might not only happen on the website, it's happening in every other channel that's out there on the web. And then that means you need even more people or whatever, something monitoring your traffic, monitoring what's happening, monitoring what's going on, not just on your website itself. So to your point, all these intent signals, how do you capture those then? Referral traffic, engagement? I mean, I think that's what marketers have struggled with for the last 10 years. There's so much data pouring in. How does it make sense together?
This is like right in your sweet spot, but I would imagine reimagining what a content dashboard of success even looks like. Because I think you can probably ask 25 different hospital and healthcare marketers, health system marketers, what their dashboards for their digital channel experience looks like. And something tells me that there's probably going to be some similarities between all 25. I think what you and I are touching on is new measures that are not in those dashboards today that bring through and maybe shine a light a little bit on new categories, new measures of success. Imagine a C-suite executive sitting with the marketing team saying, well, you've helped me identify that 70% of the traffic coming to the site is not ready to make an appointment, but they're ready to do these other things. And look, they're in the awareness stage or they're in the consideration stage. What content do we have to push to them to move them from awareness consideration
I think it's
down the
great.
funnel. And then we get really good at that. We know
But I
content.
don't think
We
they
know what to
care.
send them.
I
Yeah.
don't think they care. I really don't think they care. I think that what they're going to say is get me the commercially insured patients that I want. And I don't care how you do it, do it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
what you're talking about is really helpful for the marketers, because I think for the marketers to have those reinvented dashboards, it really helps them say, okay, let's not waste our time on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Let's spend our time on email. That's
Shines a light on what's, yeah,
exactly.
your effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you go to the C-suite and you say, using this progressive profiling,
Mhm.
able to identify where we were not getting the most bang for our buck. And here's where we'd like you to give us further investment. Because look, we proved that if we send out 20% more targeted emails, we get 30% more conversions, or whatever it looks like. I agree with you that the progressive profiling is really important for the marketers to understand behavior, but I think it has to be translated to the C-suite as,
Yeah.
this is where we're spending our money because we've learned that this is what really is going to make the difference.
I also think, okay, so you're right. Maybe I'm a little naive to think that would get their attention. Maybe, okay, I'll try something else out. Maybe it's this idea that we've invested heavily in a CRM or a CDP, but we tend to focus on our existing customer base when it comes to things like email marketing or personalization. So this progressive profiling allows us to fill empty fields in our CRM on new prospects. There's a business growth lever there that would turn, in my mind, if I was a C-suite executive. Hospital marketers, for the most part, we sometimes have shied away from the more commercial side and the engagement layer of actually driving new business. This allows us to lean right in and share the common conversations that the C-suite has outside of marketing's at work.
I agree with you. I always said, maybe not always, but about 10 years, 8 years ago, I used to say to hospitals, why don't you build ebooks the same way B2B does?
Mm.
And when people download them, what to expect from surgery at Mass General, that you have a nurse practitioner follow up with them and say, I see you downloaded this. Are you considering surgery? Can I help you determine which doctor would be best for you? And everybody's like, no, patients would hate that. Have you ever navigated a healthcare system when you have a diagnosis? Patients would love that.
Be like being in the physical plant and having a nurse navigator take you by the hand. Like, I want that experience when I'm into digital space as well. Yeah.
Would you like help? Yes or no? I remember one time I was shopping for my daughter's bat mitzvah and I bought all these clothes at Nordstrom, and they sent me a letter saying, based on your purchases, we think you're getting ready for an occasion. Would you like a personal shopper to help you? And it was
That's great. You're like, yes. And where were you 2 days ago? Yeah,
right, exactly. Where were you 4 weeks ago when I started this process? And I get it. Like, shopping for a dress is a little bit different than getting, God forbid, some sort of hideous diagnosis. But I
absolutely.
think that when you're facing something like that, you kind of want somebody to say to you, like, hey, let me try to help you understand it. Here are the doctors that are a good fit for you. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And I think we're all just too afraid in healthcare marketing to try something like that. It's like you said, if you gave me your email address and you downloaded this piece of information, you signaled that you had an interest. So my sending you an email and saying, in a very kind way, would you like a nurse navigator to reach out to you, is not an invasion of privacy. You legitimately told me you needed information about this thing.
That's right. It's opted in. Maybe every 4 out of every 10 folks who come to the site won't use that tool. They won't enhance their experience, but they'll be prompted, would you like to enhance that service? And maybe it's a younger generation that feels more comfortable. And every 6 out of 10 folks will do that. So I think we should be comfortable knowing that it might not be for everyone.
Exactly. And how many hip replacement surgeries will equal the value that you get out of an 8-page ebook that you spent whatever amount of money to, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a hard ROI thing to figure out. Or when the person downloads it, you say to them, would you like a nurse navigator to contact you? And then that person can then opt out right there. And then you've solved all the problems. So
yeah.
Is there a passion project you're working on that you'd love to share?
So talking about these themes, maybe I should maybe not be so candid, but the layer ROI probably needs a new name. But that, as a startup, is something that super excites me. I've been helping hospitals and health systems rebuild and reimagine hospital websites for more than a decade. And the reality is budgets are changing and the needs of teams are changing. And to be able to redesign your site every 3 to 4 years, that game and that time period, that era, so to speak, has changed. So the passion project for me is this layer that sits on top of the site. It shows that marketers can be growth agents, not just content educational expert agents, as we normally have been for a decade plus, more, 2 decades. So yes, trying to figure out how to bring this to life and advocating for that. Listen, Google is sunsetting third-party cookies. There's a shift towards first-party data strategies. There's uncertainty, budget scrutiny, and economic uncertainty. So there's pressure on healthcare marketers that thinking about this new layer on top of their digital experiences, to me, it like feels like a good time. And look, for the last 10 years, people like you and I have been talking about Amazon and Netflix-like personalization. This is actually how you bring that to life. I got to figure out what I'm doing with this. And, hospitalwebsites.com, the blog, will keep talking about this stuff until the time is right to launch it to the world.
I think it's great. Shawn, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, they can find me on hospitalwebsites.com. They can also submit their website for review and getting published and getting some notoriety. So I invite teams who have spent 18 plus months redesigning their websites to submit their sites because it will be added to hospitalwebsites.com. And there's a way that they can find me and my email address on the site. Easy enough. I made it simple.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really wonderful to have you, Shawn. And thanks to our viewers for joining in. I hope you got the answer you needed today. If you have a question, put it in the comments, or you can reach out at ahava.leaptag@ahamediagroup.com. See you next time.